everyone, it's Jenny at JC Cards, and I'm happy to be joining you again this month as part of Altenew's video hop showcasing their latest release. If you're looking at this before the 21st of April 2021, be sure to check out the description box below for details of a giveaway, as well as the next stop on the hop. So I strongly encourage you to give all the videos in the hop a thumbs up and consider subscribing to the channels. For my card today, I'm featuring the newly released Bouquet of Love stamp and die set, and I'm going to be showing you a little technique that really packs a punch but is super quick and easy to do, and you can use it for any coordinating stamp and die set that you might have. Now this stamp set is quite big, so I thought it'd be fun to create a slimline card. So I'm using the Nesting Slim Rectangles, which were released one or two releases ago, not in this most recent one by Altenew. They create a classic rectangle outline, and there's also a wide inner border, so it creates that kind of almost embossed look around the edge. It's quite subtle. I'm going to use the coordinating die from the Bouquet of Love set to create an almost DIY stencil. I'm using £110 cardstock, nothing fancy, and I already created one card previously and it held up so well, I'm just going to use it again for this card. But I recommend using a sturdier cardstock just because whilst this isn't a particularly intricate die, I pulled out the little pieces in the centre, you do want it to be able to hold up to some quite vigorous ink blending, as you'll see. So I'm just going to hold it in place over the top of my slimline die with some magnets, and then using my handy mini ink blenders from Altenew, I'm going to blend ink over the top of that stencil. I'm using a variety of really sort of pale soft colours, and you can go as heavy with the ink or as light as you like. The colours I'm using, I'm trying to sort of mimic that kind of Northern Lights type look. I did something similar to this on a landscape card, and it just gave me the idea of changing up my ink blending when it comes to stenciling, and I thought, why not coordinate it with a DIY stencil, and that's how this card came about. So the colours I'm using are soft lilac, polar bear, and pink diamond. And I'm also going to add in some fresh lemon, and you'll see that as I've added quite a bit of colour at this point, where I've added it randomly in, they're going to start overlapping and blending together. I do get a little bit of green as well, which is of course similar to the Northern Lights. Now make sure that you go all around and up to the edges. It doesn't have to be perfect blending. What you're going to see in a little bit is why that isn't a problem. Now, I'm going to do this one more time because I wanted a bit more of that Bouquet of Love to appear on my slimline card and kind of fall down sort of 2/3 of the way down the panel. So I'm repeating it. I have turned the stencil so I get a different part of the image, and then I'm just coming back in with those colours again and blending them in. And I go in with each colour at first one by one, and then I look and see if we got any white space. If so, come back in, fill it in again a little bit with colour and let them blend and overlap where I want to, trying not to get any grey or brown, murky browns. And then lift up my stencil and you get this really pretty kind of, it's almost like Northern Lights in the shape of a bouquet, is how I think of it. Now I want to stamp the Bouquet of Love image over the top of these. And I have the combination of a large slimline card and then a very large stamp set. So you don't have to have one of these giant misties. This is the memory misty, it's 12 by 12. But seeing as I do have one, I figured I would use it. So it just helped me to be able to line up the large Bouquet of Love stamp better over the top of my ink blending. Now I'm lining it up, overlaying it over the top where it looks like it matches that ink blending, picking it up with the misty, using a powder tool to remove any static cling before then inking up my stamp with embossing ink and then stamping it down. And you will see it's really hard to film this with the memory misty. I could not quite see, I'm going short-sighted, couldn't quite see where I was stamping, so I was a little bit off. But honestly, this technique is very forgiving, so you'll see that even though I didn't quite get my outline perfectly within the ink blending, it didn't matter. I'm going to emboss this image, hence the embossing ink, and I'm using rose gold embossing powder. So my first stamp, I'm going to add the powder. I'm not heating it yet. I'm just going to pull the stamp off because I'm super lazy. I haven't even cleaned it. I would recommend you do that. So I had to be very careful repositioning it back down. So not shifting it at all, otherwise the embossed image wouldn't be crisp enough. So I laid that down, picked it up with the Memory Misty again, and then inked it up with my embossing ink and stamped. And then I'm just going to come back in with the rose gold embossing powder, and then I can heat emboss it all in one go. And you get that really pretty shine once it's all heat embossed against that background. And you can see I didn't blend it perfectly, but it doesn't matter. The embossing kind of blends it together for you. Now I'm just going to add a simple sentiment. I love the sentiment font in this set, that kind of fun, almost like your handwritten note script with a traditional font above it. I really love it. And the sentiments in here are really nice as well. So I'm just going to nestle it in amongst those two bouquets and stamp it down in some Obsidian black pigment ink, which is really fine detail, perfect for sentiments. I'm just going to stamp it directly onto the panel. Now for a slimline card, I'm going to add it to a card base. I've got some £110 Nina Solar White here, and I've cut it to 7 inches by 8.5 inches. And then I'm going to score it at 3.5 inches with my new Altenew bone folder, trusty bone folder. Good, great for getting a really sharp crease. And then I'm just going to adhere that panel directly down onto my custom card base. So you end up with a card that's 3.5 inches by 8.5. I had a little bit of overhang following the scoring, so I just trimmed it off at the edges. And then to finish, I'm going to add some sparkling kind of iridescent sequins in different colours that mimic what I use for my ink blending. And here's a quick look at the other card I made. It's very similar. I was a bit more intense on the ink blending. I used another one of the sentiments from the set, and I used the gold peach embossing powder. And that's it from me. I hope you've enjoyed. As I said, be sure to head on over to the next stop on the hop. You can find it in the description box below, along with all of the supplies I used in today's video. If you've enjoyed this one, I'd really appreciate if you give me a subscribe, and be sure to leave a comment, and enjoy the rest of your day. Bye.